Let me just introduce myself a little bit. I grew up in LGCC my entire life. I was dedicated to this church and came back after college and been serving with as a deacon and a little bit with the children's ministry as well as the young adults. So I have kind of quite a range of serving that I've done here at LGC. So you probably see me around. My husband Aiden, and we've been married 2 years, and we're expecting our first. About 7 months along. Let me give you a little bit of background. I actually went to college and studied IT and business, and I've done about 8 years at IBM. I'm just finishing up there, and as I've kind of been in the technical world, I've decided that I want to go actually and teach instead. And so I've had a really great experience with Montessori when I was a child. I went to Montessori preschool in Cupertino called Villa Montessori, and I just had such great memories from it. I really remembered, the work that I did there and just kind of the foundation that I got. And so I decided to move away from IT and into teaching. And so I've gotten my Montessori certification. And I've been working at actually the same preschool I attended. I actually went there. One of my teachers is still there. She's like 80 years old. She's a substitute teacher, but it's still a great school.
Yeah, of course. Because Villa Montessori School was just starting at that time. So Wendy actually was the first LGCC child to start.
I was the first one, and about 14 other LGC kids went after me. So good. It was a very popular school. It's called Villa Montessori. It's in Cupertino off of Stevens Creek. If you're familiar with Cupertino, it's Stevens Creek behind Santana. Santana there. And it's primarily 3 to 6 years old. So preschool and a little bit and some kindergarten. So it's a great school.
The wait list
it was a very long wait list.
So my kids could not get into it because you basically had to have siblings or older siblings there before they even take.
So what's special about that school?
That school actually is very good because the teachers are very qualified there. Almost all of them are certified. If you go to any other Montessori school, you only need to have the directors have a certification. Other teachers are probably not certified. So this Villa, almost all the teachers are certified. They have a lot of great experience. Hi, Eric. And they actually use the Montessori theory and the materials, whereas a lot of other Montessoris, it's in name but not in action. So let me tell you a little bit about Montessori. How many of you are familiar with Montessori? Okay. It's a way of teaching, and it was founded by an Italian woman named Maria Montessori. She was born in the 1870s, and she was born in a time where most women became teachers. And she actually decided not to be a teacher. She actually wanted to go into engineering. And so she actually went to school with boys, and she did some engineering, and then she turned to biology, and she actually ended up going into medical school. And it was so different, it was so challenging for her at the time that she was pretty much the only woman. And she couldn't, do body dissections with the men, it was very segregated. And she became the first female doctor in Italy. So she comes from a very science background. And so when she finally did go into teaching and education, it was a very scientific method of developing her materials and her processes. So, and then from there, it just kind of spread throughout the world. And her theory concentrates mostly from age 0 to age 6. And during that time, she calls it the absorbent mind. And basically, from age 0 to 3, the child learns without trying. Just unconsciously, the child learns from his or her environment. And you can see that in how your child picks up the language that you speak at home, right? Cantonese or Mandarin. The child doesn't have to try. There's no effort in it. They just know how to speak just from hearing you and stuff. And so that's the unconscious period from 0 to 3. And then from 3 to 6, it's called the conscious period, where the child is kind of actively learning, manipulating things, and you see this in a variety of ways. From 0 to 3, your child will put toys in her mouth, right, and bite on it, and she's actually learning that way. She's learning the texture, she's learning how it feels, and it's a way that she learns. And then from 3 to 6, it's a little more thought goes into it. The child does want to learn too, and has a desire to learn, and it's very easy for the child from age 3 to 6, and that's why a lot of people focus on the preschool age, because it builds a really good foundation for the child. After age 6, your child has to make an effort to learn. You know, it's much harder to learn. You have to actually really try. I mean, you can imagine how hard it is for you to pick up something new. But from age 3 to 6, it just comes so naturally and so intuitively. And the advantage of this period from age 0 to 6 is that they learn with all their senses, right? They learn tactically, they learn orally, they learn with sight, and they pick things up from your environment. So there are 4 main areas of Montessori that I want to go over. One is practical life, sensorial, math, and language. And I know a lot of parents, especially Asian parents, math and language is like the big thing, and you know, that's what everyone wants to know is math and language. But I'm going to tell you why practical life and sensorial are kind of the building blocks for math and language, and how, and different things that you can do at home. Most of my background and my experience have been with 3 to 6-year-olds, but there are certain things that you can do. Because I know most of your kids are younger, things that you can do at home. So practical life is basically things that you do every day. You know, everyday things when you're feeding yourself, when you're pouring things, when you're working around the house. And practical life will teach you order. It's important to learn order, especially at such a young age. And practical life activities, which I'll show you in a minute, teaches the child how to go from left to right, top to bottom. And that's basically what you need to know when you're starting to learn how to read, right? Well, at least English. At least English, left to right, top to bottom. And then it also shows you patterns, and that's part of grammar. Okay? And then you also have to learn certain processes, certain steps. When you cook, you're doing a certain process, you're doing a certain order. Even when you say clean a table, there's a certain order you have to do it. You can't dry the table before you wipe it down. And so learning how to do these very practical, very everyday things, your child is learning and preparing for math and language. So order is the first thing you learn through practical life. Secondly, you learn concentration. When you watch a child do these jobs and learning how to tie their shoes, they're concentrating, they're focused, and you want to make sure that you're developing that, and that helps your child learn throughout life, concentration. And if the child isn't focused, they're going to make mistakes. So of course you learn history. The third thing you learn through practical life is coordination. You learn how to move your body, you learn how to manipulate, things in front of you. And through this coordination, that's how you're going to learn actually how to write. Once you see some of these jobs that I have, the child is using their hands, they're turning, twisting things, they're pinching things. And without this muscle control, this fine motor movement, they can't write. Later on in life, when your child is learning how to write, they might hate it because their hand is actually just too fatigued. It has nothing to do with, oh, it's boring or, it's too hard. It's that their hand muscles haven't been developed. And so there's a lot of easy things that you can do as parents when they're young to develop those hand muscles and that kind of coordination and preparation for writing.